questions that are in the chat box. And with that, I would like to welcome everybody to our fourth parent information session, our welcome back to school session. My name is Nicole Bostel. I'm the Director of Communications here at STEM School Highlands Ranch. Our topic today is getting involved. This is our fourth day, so our fourth session. Please be sure to check the Back to School Hub. That's where we're posting all the previous information sessions with the video as well as the PDF presentation that was covered inside of the video. So please be sure to review those before school gets started on Tuesday. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and get through our presentation. It is fairly quick, so we do have the opportunity at the end for questions, but let's talk about how you can get involved at STEM. Okay, before I do that, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you have your own section on the website. It's up in the top right corner. You'll see the word parents. You'll want to click on that. You'll come to this page here that says get involved, get connected, get informed. So yesterday we covered how to get connected at STEM. And then on Tuesday, we talked about how to get informed. Okay, so those are the first two kind of funnels and today we're covering how you can get involved. So this is a very helpful page that we highly suggest that you familiarize yourself with. The Back to School Hub page on the website is going to have a lot of really important information to get you going for the new school year. So it'll have the quick start guides for elementary school for the various different grades, the elementary school supply list. It's also going to indicate we don't have supply lists for secondary school like we do for elementary school, but we do have laptop requirements. So for students in grades 7 through 12, please make sure that you know what the laptop requirement is. It's also going to indicate on there 6th grade is going to be provided a Google Chromebook. We also have the links to the two most recent parent newsletters. We'll add the parent newsletter from this Friday to that page as well. So please make sure to familiarize yourself with that. If you have any questions about what's on that Back to School Hub page that maybe is not included, but you would like for it to be included, just email that info@stemk12.org with any questions, and then we'll work on finding the information and getting it added. So I also want to give an update about Express Check-in for those who didn't attend any of the previous sessions or who may have missed some of the emails. District's Express Check-in is open. It is working. As far as we know, it is working. So please make sure that you complete that first phase 1 by Monday, August 5th. If you're having difficulty logging in, trying to get your password, trying to reset your password, you do have to contact District IT. We have a post on the website. It's the second article in the rotator. Click on that, and that's going to give you direct links to how to complete phase 1 and phase 2. Which you see there is our STEM Express Check-in Google form. So both of those are listed on the website. And included on that in that post is going to be the district's IT phone number if you need help getting access to the Engage system with your username and password. Okay. So this past Saturday, we emailed out the Google form. It's posted on our website, and we'll also be including it in the parent newsletter this Friday. So please make sure that you complete our Express Check-in, which is phase 2. Normally it's all together, but this year we had to separate them out due to the student parent handbook not being complete on time. Please review the student parent handbook. We have done a complete overhaul of it to ensure that we are putting the most important information in that our families can reference at any given point in time. You would also find a link to that if you need to reference that at all during the school year. You can find that on that Get Informed page on the website. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about volunteering and how to make donations at STEM. So please know that we would not be able to run the school as we do without the help of volunteers. And so we do ask that all of our families contribute and make a commitment of at least 30 volunteer hours for the school year. Now, if you are a split household, so there is, mom and dad are separated, or there's multiple families that help support the student, that it's a 15-hour commitment per family in that instance. So it's essentially 30 hours per student. So just keep that in mind. But that's what we're requesting, because we do need a lot of help throughout the school year with various different activities. And so we'll touch a little bit on what does that look like and the different opportunities, and then how you can log your hours, how you can sign up. But the email address, if you have any questions about how to volunteer at STEM, that's volunteer@stemk12.org. We try and keep the emails very simple here, so that you can find the information that you're looking for. You can also find more information on that communications pathways document that I mentioned yesterday in our Getting Connected session. Volunteer opportunities, we post them in the newsletter every Friday. There is a section for volunteer opportunities as well as donation opportunities. And for donation opportunities, we're asking for smaller items. So it could be something like snacks for an after school club. Or it could be art supplies. So sometimes the art department's looking for just newspaper, egg cartons, it could be spray bottles. So just be on the lookout for that, because there's a great opportunity for you. If you can't come and volunteer in person, or if there's nobody in your family that can come, you can get volunteer hours for donations that you've made. Okay. We also have on our website, on the Get Involved section, that's where we will post the volunteer opportunities. And then we'll also share out any volunteer or donation opportunities through social media. So those are kind of the three avenues where you'll find out how to either get involved through volunteering or make a donation of an item. How we account for a volunteer hour: if you can't come in and do an hour of service, you can also donate money. And so what we say is, for every $20 that you donate, that counts toward that counts toward a volunteer hour. Now, if you already know in advance you're just way too busy, there's nobody in your family who can make it, you can make a one-time donation to cover those 30 hours that we would request of our families to do during the school year. There's a link on that Get Involved page that allows for you to select volunteer hour donations. And then you can just make a monetary donation that way if you would like. Now, please just keep in mind, because you're doing that in lieu of that volunteer hour request, you wouldn't be able to account that $20 or the total lump sum of what 20 times 30 hours would be towards your taxes. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Anything above that amount, if you make a donation to any one of our programs directly, you can receive a gift donation letter from our business office, but it can't be to take the place of that volunteer hour request that we're making. So as I mentioned, the volunteer hours donation, we started that, I believe, last year, or the year prior might have been the first year to do it. What happens with that money, if you make a donation, is we utilize that to help cover some of the costs of those maybe last minute requests for snacks that maybe our parents can't fulfill, or if there's a larger event coming. So for instance, vision and hearing screening last year, it was a pretty large event, and it came right after the holidays, and we had also requested for a few other donation items for larger events. And so what we did was we took money from that fund where people had donated from their volunteer hours. We utilized that money in order to cover the cost for those what would have been donated items from our parents. So to ensure that our vision and hearing screening volunteers had the snacks that they needed during that particular event. So we just want to make sure that you guys know that how we utilize that money is we try to be very cognizant that it's being used to cover something that we would have asked for originally. So like, for instance, a snack donation, or if the health office needed some in elementary school, sometimes they need shorts or socks or underwears, because sometimes the younger students have accidents. So we utilize that money to cover some of those items if our parents are not able to give. So Next up, so if you were with us last year, we used a system called Raptor. They had a volunteer hour platform where we could post opportunities for people to sign up to volunteer. They could also track their hours. That platform was not very successful for us, so we have decided to switch to another platform called Get Connected by Galaxy Digital. And we're in the process of finalizing all the different volunteer opportunities inside that system. And so we hope to launch that next week. We will include information about this in next Friday's parent newsletter, and then we will also post it on our website and on social. And so this platform will allow families to go in and take a look at the various different volunteer opportunities. They can sign up for it. They can also complete the background check requirement if that particular volunteer opportunity requires a background check. They can complete that in the system also. And then they can also track their hours. So for example, if you have completed the monetary donation for your hours, you can go inside that system and ensure that you're logging your hours so that we can see that you've contributed the 30 hours. You can also see how you're doing against other parents, and just there's a leaderboard. And so the system really tries to make it fun and interactive for families to really get behind giving back to the school and volunteering. So be on the lookout for that. Again, we're going to share that next Friday's parent newsletter. You can already, if you would like to check out the Get Connected platform, it's a very nice platform and we're very excited about that. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. So as I mentioned, background checks, there are certain volunteer positions that do require volunteers to complete a detailed background check prior to volunteering for that position. So that would be any volunteer position that would involve the parent being alone with a student or groups of students in any form of in any capacity. We wouldn't want to make sure that that parent is background checked before they assist. So for instance, if they are a mentor for an enrichment club, or if they are a second volunteer to an enrichment club where they could potentially be running that club by themselves, we would want to ensure that they're background checked and good to go so that they can run that club. But with this new Get Connected platform, each volunteer opportunity where a background check is required, it will be indicated prior to signing up. Okay. And then this has always been the case, but we just want to ensure that our families continue to know or are made aware that anytime a volunteer comes in during school hours, that they will be run through our Raptor check-in system utilizing their driver's license. So, and so there's various different levels that these different systems scan. So just know that they will require your background check, your driver's license when you do come in to volunteer, to just run a quick scan of it also. Okay. So I want to touch briefly on our PTO, and there might be some PTO members already on the call, but if not, I'll go ahead and jump into this. If you don't know, we have PTO stands for Parent Teacher Organization, and they do a fantastic job of creating events for our families to engage with one another, to create those connections, not only between the students and staff, but also between our staff and the parents. So we just had one event that the PTO put on, and that was the pool party that was this past Saturday. It was a great event. And so they will also be putting on another event called Blast Off, and that will come later on in August. That's a great community event where families, students can all come out and just have fun on campus. And they put together various different activities, bounce houses, there's booths, there's prize opportunities for prizes. We'll have Spark Mart there selling gear and food. So just be on the lookout for that, because it's a great opportunity to meet other parents or just meet the parents of the students that are in your kiddo's class. You'll see PTO throughout various different events. For instance, back to school night, there'll be the elementary school meet and greet on Monday, where they'll have a table. So be sure to stop by and get to know the leaders of the PTO, because they're fantastic. Other areas where they help support our school include they help put together, provide food for our staff on certain professional development days. They've been very active here during the last week and a half with professional development for our new staff and our returning teachers. And then they also provide teacher grants throughout the school year twice a year. So they do a big fundraiser amongst our community members to raise funds to grant some teacher grants for additional supplies or initiatives that teachers want to have in their classroom that maybe their department budget can't fund. So just be on the lookout for that. So their mission is to ensure that the PTO works in partnership with our school to foster a strong sense of community, provide enhanced activities for students, faculty, staff, and families. So I highly suggest that this, if you don't need to be super social to be involved, they have various different positions that you can check out on their PTO page on our website, where you can be involved in the background. But it's a great way to meet other parents, and it's also a great way to get to know our school from the engagement side. They meet the second Wednesday of every single month. You can find their meeting time. Most of the time it's on Zoom. Sometimes they do have in-person sessions, but it is in the evenings. I believe it's from 6 to 8, but you can check our calendar, and you can also find the Zoom link on there to access the meeting and follow along. They also have this Linktree page where you can find out more information. So for example, they have through King Soopers, they're part of their community organization. So if you shop a lot at King Soopers, you can set them up as your community organization, to where anytime you shop, they get a donation from King Soopers from your purchases. There is the email address for PTO. So if you have any questions that you want to direct straight to them, you can do so. Now we're going to talk about our school accountability committee. So if maybe the engagement side is not so much your thing, but you do like to be involved in the school and more of a maybe policies, procedures type, or maybe creating gathering information from our families in order to help improve the school or make recommendations for improvements to be made through the school, you can join our school accountability committee. Okay. Every school has to have a SAC committee. So we have a fantastic group of parents. The SAC has really grown over the last 2 years, and we've had consistent parents, but they are always looking for more to join as parents cycle off and fulfill their commitment to that. So as you can see, they usually do 4 or more parents. Then they also have a representative from our elementary school and our secondary school. They also request that there's a PTO representative, and then they always like to have an administrator from STEM, and then also a representative from the community who might not have a student at STEM, so it's almost like a mini board, but they handle very specific things. And so I would definitely suggest that you, if that seems like it's up your alley, to definitely check that out. It's also a great launch pad that if you would eventually like to join our board, you can learn so much by being a part of our SAC and get your feet wet, and see how what areas they have influence in certain areas inside the school. So that way, if you do want to transition to the board, you're more informed before you put your hat in the ring for a board position. They typically meet the third Wednesday of each month during the school year. And then sometimes, or oftentimes, their meetings fall over breaks. So they will communicate out when their meeting is moved through the all school calendar. And then we usually include a message in our weekly newsletter. They try to also discuss important topics that might be that parents might want to know about. So be on the lookout to see what their agenda is including and see if there's anything interesting that you might want to get involved in. You can email them directly at sac@stemk12.org if you want to get involved or come to their meetings. And then you can also check out all of their agendas and their minutes on the SAC page on our website. It's under stemk12.org. You'll click on About Us, and then under when that menu drops down, you'll click on School Accountability Committee. Okay. So now we're going to talk about our Co's STEM Board of Directors. We do, as a charter school, have our own self-governing school board. It is made up of parents and community representatives. So it is currently, I believe, a 9-member board. And you can join the board. They generally run their elections about April-May timeframe. So we do communicate that out via the parent newsletter. But the board is really, they are really in charge of overseeing our policies and ensuring that we have a policy in place and that we're following any policies that we either have to outline or that the district outlines. And they're also responsible for overseeing our Chief Innovation Officer, that's Matt Cartier. And so he reports directly to the board. And so they provide him with goals that he needs to meet each and every year. And then they also provide oversight of our budget, and the finances of the school. So there's the link to where you can find out more about our board of directors. And then if you have any questions about the board, you can submit those to the communications email, and then we'll make sure that it gets to the right spot. So as I mentioned, it's a 9-member board made up of parents and community members. It's all volunteer based, so nobody gets paid. If you do decide to get involved with our PTO, our SAC, or our school board, all of those volunteer hours do count towards those 30 hours that we request of our parents. The meetings are the first Tuesday of every month. You can attend in person. They're here at our Cozon building or PTech building. You can also watch via Zoom. They start at 5:30 and they generally end around 7. You cannot do any type of public comment via Zoom, so it is just a watch only on Zoom. You can't submit any questions to be answered that way. So if you would like to take part in public comment, you can find information on the board page as to how that process works, of how you submit, what you have to submit, and then how far in advance, and then what to do once you have submitted and then you have been approved for that public comment for that meeting. Okay, we strongly encourage our community to watch the board meeting and kind of see what they're doing, because they have been very active over the last year and a half. And so they are tackling a lot of just really, they're big issues, but they're really, really good issues that the school is faced with. And so they're also working very hard to ensure that we're crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. And so it's really, really great to watch that we have a very active board and a very committed group of members who really truly care about STEM School Highlands Ranch. So if you want to get involved, you'll be sure to pay attention that we'll do new member elections that are held every kind of April and May. But then we usually do a call for new board members around February, March timeframe. And so you'll want to be on the lookout where we'll put information in the parent newsletter that'll say if you're interested in joining the board, you can reach out to a specific board member that is set and ready to either meet in person or they can answer any questions via email. And so we do offer those opportunities typically in February and March. And then we start collecting names towards the end of March of those who are interested in being included on the ballot for an open parent seat on the board. And then we would run that election usually toward the end of April. So we usually include a biography as well as a photograph. And then once we have all of the interested members included, we send out information collected. We send out a voter board book that includes all of those potential members, and we circulate that with the ballot. So please remember that all of this information is going to be shared every single week or shared in the weekly parent newsletter, I should say. Okay, and with that, I'm going to open it up to questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I will go through the chat box to see if I missed anything. And then you can also unmute yourself. I want to get caught up with some of the questions. There's a question in here about how are kids chosen for ELD. So I would, we do have an English language development page on the website. So you'll want to click on student support, hover over that, and then a drop-down menu will fall down. And then there'll be an English language development page that should walk you through how that process starts and then what to expect, as well as who to contact for that. Okay. So yes, thank you. There's a comment in there about the secondary about driveline placards. If you need a placard for today, and I will be sending out a message after this, they did have to make a switch. They are moving placard printing over to the elementary school. Now that all the staff are returning, the secondary office needed a little bit more time with the staff, and so they're moving placard printing over to the elementary school building, and I will be sending out a message about that. We're also adjusting our times for tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that message tomorrow. They will be printing placards over in elementary school starting at 7:30 all the way up until 1 p.m. Okay, so we're going to be ending that one early tomorrow, but I'll send a message out to everybody so that they know. And then there's a question, are there any volunteer opportunities for the first week of school? If we do, we will send that either out in tomorrow's newsletter, or we'll send a direct message out because it would come after. In the past, we've done kind of a welcome wagon. We did that last year where we had parents that just came to help, signed up to come in the morning to just kind of greet families and wave at cars and just provide a very positive environment around the school. We have a new director of enrollment who is kind of taking over some of the oversight of the volunteer opportunities. So far, we don't have anything coordinated, but that doesn't mean that we won't. So if we do have anything that comes up, we'll include it in tomorrow's newsletter or in a direct message over the weekend. So just be on the lookout for that. We don't have anything set up right now for families to come in next week during the school day. So that's really the only opportunity that I can think of for next week that could potentially be a volunteer opportunity, which would be something like the welcome wagon. Okay. There's a question about how can middle school students join clubs like volleyball or chess or anything else. I would definitely check out that enrichment page there. We included the first update from enrichment in last Friday's parent newsletter. They also have a page on our website under the STEM experience. Definitely click on that because there are some clubs registrations that are currently open. Not so much for middle and high school just yet, because a lot more of them get set up once the students and the teachers are back, and then they determine what kind of clubs they want to host. But you would definitely check that out on the enrichment page. The students are going to have the opportunity to attend what's called Club Rush, and that will be the second week of school, I believe, where middle school students will be able to see all the clubs available to them, find out more information, and also sign up for them. High school will have the same opportunity. Theirs will just be at a different time, on a different day. So be sure you can check out which days those are on the all school calendar. And then more registrations will start to appear probably about the second and the third week of school on that enrichment page. And then we'll also include them in the newsletter. We're also going to touch on some of that tomorrow during our last presentation, which is called the STEM experience, where we'll talk about athletics and enrichment and what to expect. So here's a question. The secondary schedule doesn't include a time frame for lunch. And so how lunch works on the secondary side, and we included some of this information in the parent newsletter. The teachers today actually just received their schedule to then indicate when they themselves have lunch. So on, I believe, a blue day, it is 6th period, and on a gold day, it's 7th period, or I might have those reversed, but it's always 6th and 7th period is when that large block is, where lunch is included in that block. And so what happens is the teacher, let's say, for instance, they have a lunch, the students will have a lunch at that same time. Or if the teacher has B lunch, the students will then start class, and then they'll depart for B lunch and then come back and finish that class. So just so that you know, that's how you can read the schedule, but the students will start to figure that, as the teachers are putting that into their syllabus and into their Canvas courses today and tomorrow and Monday, it will start to populate for the students. So it's okay if you don't see it yet. You just know that they'll have lunch somewhere within that 6th period time block or that 7th period time block every single day. Okay. And it might be different. So on a blue day, they might have an A lunch, and on a gold day, they might have a B lunch. Or a C lunch. It just depends on the teacher that they have for when they have lunch. There's a question if I can briefly explain the access teacher period, and is that changeable after the schedule add drop period? So Access was new for us last year, and the concept behind Access is that all students have access at the exact same time, and they have a dedicated teacher that they always have access with their entire time while they are at STEM. Okay, now they'll have the same teacher while they're in middle school, and then once they go to high school, then they will have another teacher once they hit high school, and that will be their Access teacher during their entire time. And the goal of Access, the first part of Access, is going to be helping to kind of build upon some of those social and emotional skills, learning how to get along with their classmates. And I might have disconnected. There we go. Learning how to get along with their classmates, learning how to interact with their teachers, getting to know their teacher. And then there's other activities too. So for example, they'll do some cognitive coaching exercises. They'll do some executive functioning exercises. So it's not, the goal of Access is to help the student not just academically, but also in those other areas that help the whole child. Okay, so they do have access to those things during that class period. And then there's also a portion of Access where they're able to leave to go visit with another teacher. For instance, if they needed additional help, or if they needed to retake an assessment, they can do that during that Access period. So it allows for them to have the ability to catch up on work. Like I said, retake an assessment if needed, or get some additional help from a teacher. So let's say they either missed a class period, and so they were trying to catch up on the instruction piece of the lesson that they were learning. They can go back to that teacher and say, look, I just didn't really understand this as I was going through the notes. Can you walk me through it? So this was worked very well for some students last year who really took advantage of it, because then they didn't need to try and access teacher office hours after school, where it would then impact their either athletics or their enrichment opportunities. So it's just another way for students to be able to interact with their teachers and get any support that they need. They can also visit with a counselor during that time. It's a great tool that we hope is even better this year than it was last year. Let's see. Oh, thank you for posting that link to the clubs. That's very helpful. It's also on our enrichment page, so you can check that out there too. Um, the recordings of all of these sessions, they're going to be in the Back to School Hub on the website. It should be that main article in the rotator. Click on that, scroll down, and I post the videos and the PDF of the presentations there after each one. Thank you for posting that there. I really appreciate it. Now there's a question. Are middle school students allowed to snack during classes before and after lunch, or should they plan to snack between classes? Asking because my kiddo is in a growth spurt. Totally understand. It's really dependent on the teacher and it's dependent on the class. If they're in an engineering class or in a biology class, the teacher's probably going to say no, just because of the projects that they're going to be working on or the access to the equipment that they have to utilize, or they need to keep the surfaces clean, and they can't, their hands need to be free of any grease, debris, anything like that. So I would strongly encourage for them, if they're hungry, to just, they have I believe it's a 5-minute passing period. They can, get a little bit of a snack in between periods. And if they're just really in dire need of a snack in the middle of a class, they could ask the teacher, hey, is it okay if I just step out and have a quick snack? I feel my blood sugar dropping or something like that. And 9 times out of 10, the teacher is very supportive of that. But I would just have them communicate with ask the teacher, hey, is it okay if I eat my snack? I missed it. And then have them create that dialogue with the teacher. And a lot of times, once they create those relationships, the teacher really understands and is supportive of the students with whatever they might need. Okay. Let's see. Our lunch is provided similar to DCSD schools. Yes, we have a great director. His name is Terrence Sessoms. He is the director of our nutrition services here at STEM School Highlands Ranch. He is fantastic. So if you ever have any questions, he would be the one to reach out to. He is a district employee, and so he works directly for them, but he works inside our building. He is an executive chef, so he works really hard to try and make the menus and the food taste as good as it possibly can. Now, please keep in mind, we are limited to what the food that the district provides to him. So sometimes he is kind of stuck with what the menu is, but he does try really hard to make the food very, very tasty for our students and to try and get them what they want. Now, it's really hard to accommodate sometimes everybody's wishes, but he really does try hard. So district nutrition services would be who you would reach out to. And then they'll use the student's lunch number, which is their student ID number, at checkout during their lunch periods in order to just record that their student went through the lunch line. There is a question about access. Is the assigned teacher able to be switched at this point? I don't believe so, but your kiddo can reach out to their counselor during that first week of school and check with them. I would say at this point, I guess I would need to know a little bit more information. If this is their first year with us, there might be some potential for them to switch. But if they're a returning student, chances are that they're going to be with that access teacher because of how the next semester's schedules have already been planned, right? So when we plan the master schedule, we don't just plan it for the semester, we plan it for the school year. So they did have to take into account who has what access teacher at that particular time. But I would have them reach out to their counselor to explain why they would want to switch their access teacher. There's a question, are lunches free, the same as other schools? Yes, they are free, but I would check that Nutrition Services website. They have a nice graphic. I also included it in the Get Informed presentation that was done on Tuesday. We have the graphic included in there also. There are specific requirements, specific food items that a student needs to have on their tray in order for the lunch to be free. So if you start to notice that you're getting charged for the lunch, it is more than likely that your student didn't put all of the items onto their tray. They don't necessarily need to eat it, but they do need to have it on their tray as they go through the lunch line. Otherwise, they will be charged for the full meal. Okay, so I would check out that graphic because I believe it has to say how much veggie, how much fruit, and what kind of drink they need to pick. If you want to take part in the free and reduced lunch program, and that program doesn't just mean free lunch. And so let me backtrack. So the free and reduced lunch program was obviously set up before lunches were free in the state of Colorado. But that program does entail a lot of other opportunities for either free or reduced fees. And so if you think that you might qualify for the additional options that are part of that program outside of a free lunch, then I would strongly encourage you to complete that application. You do have to do it new every single year. And you would do that on I believe I have the application link in the Back to School Hub as well as in the parent newsletter. So I would definitely complete that and get that submitted. What is an access teacher? So an access teacher is just one of our normal teachers, but they get assigned a group of students that they are then with either their entire 3 years through middle school or their entire 4 years through high school. And so the idea is that you're creating those bonds and those relationships, and that those trusting relationships between student and teacher, so that they do have somebody to go to through if they don't feel that same trusted relationship with a school counselor or an administrator. So what we're doing is we're trying to create other avenues for students to connect with other trusted adults inside the building. So there's this additional question about access. So I would go back to, I would have your student reach out to the counselor and indicate what the reasoning is on why they should be moved to a different access teacher. And I can't say yes or no that they will do it, but I would involve the school counselor. That way they are aware of that. There's an in-person schedule change opportunity on Monday between the two Spartan launch opportunities. So there's about an hour where your student can go there to meet with a counselor. And then they also have the counselor request form that you can find on the Back to School, in the Friday's parent newsletter. It'll also be in this Friday's parent newsletter where you can submit a request to speak with a counselor or to make an appointment with a counselor, and then the counselors will schedule an appointment as soon as they get through that list. So, if there are no other questions, because I think I got through all of them that were in the chat box, this was probably our shorter info session of all of them. It typically is because we're only talking about ways to get involved. But I'm happy to continue to answer any other questions. You can keep putting them in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. I'll give it probably about another minute, and if I don't see any other new questions, then I'll go ahead and end our session for today. So there is a question about student lunches that show that is free. So if you're talking about the free and reduced lunch program, so that's going to it's, I don't want to confuse people, but there's all lunches are free, for students in Colorado, whether they're part of that program or not, as long as they get all of those components of what makes it a free meal. Now, if you are part of that free and reduced lunch program, right? So then that indicates that you fall below a certain household income and you would qualify for that program. In the event that your student doesn't pick all of those items, and they're just walking away with, let's just say, the slice of pizza and not the fruit and the vegetable, the slice of pizza would be covered and you wouldn't be charged for that because you're part of that free and reduced lunch program. Okay. There's also other components of that free and reduced lunch program. So, for example, if you qualify for that separate program, and again, that's based on your household income, you could also qualify for getting field trip fees waived or athletic registrations waived or registration costs for enrichment clubs. So that's a completely separate program that helps with more than just free lunch. And then the overall program it provides free lunches to all students if they get all the components that make it a free meal. So if you are not part of the free and reduced lunch program, your student takes the piece of pizza, doesn't take the fruit, and doesn't take the vegetable, and let's say the milk, they will be charged for that piece of pizza. So I hope that that makes sense that there's two separate programs. Let's see. For kindies, what if they forgot their student ID at lunch? Well, you not to worry. They won't be asking any kindergartners to remember their student ID numbers. It would be fantastic if they did. But we have the aides that go into the school cafeteria with the students, and then they provide the student ID numbers to the cafeteria aide worker that is there, and they input it into the system for any student who is getting a hot lunch that day. If your student is bringing their lunch to school and not getting a free lunch from the cafeteria, then they just go to their table and then they can start eating. When do new kids get their badges? So we have photo day, and we included this in the parent newsletter. So please make sure that you take a look at what days we have for secondary students. And then we have a completely separate day for elementary. So it is, I believe, the 7th and 8th are photo days for secondary, and your students will get a student ID right then and there. It'll be printed on site for them to take with them. They'll also get a lanyard. And then for elementary school students, they K through 5, there will have a photo day later in April. So what we're doing is we're waiting for kindergartners to join and get situated, and then we've picked a separate day for kindergarten that's just dedicated to them. That way there's not nobody's getting rushed, no crying, and we can get all of our K through 5 students, we can get their pictures taken. K through 5 students will not receive a student ID badge. We just provide them for 6 through 12 and then P-TECH students. So Canvas is available now. If you want to go ahead and set up your account, you would check out that technology support page and make sure that you set up your account. Your student will first log in to their STEM email account, and there's information on how they can set up their STEM email account. And then once they have their STEM email account access to that, then they'll go to the Canvas page on our website, and then they'll log into Canvas using their STEM email account information. And then they'll have access to their Canvas account. So you can start looking at setting up and getting access to those now. Now, please be patient because the teachers, returning teachers just started yesterday, and these first probably 2 days are really heavy with getting all of their required trainings out of the way. in addition to them getting into their classroom and setting up, not only does what their classroom look like, but also setting up their syllabus and getting it loaded into Canvas. So it will definitely start to populate over the next couple of days. And the students should start to see the syllabi in all of their courses start to populate, I would say, Monday and at the very latest on Tuesday. Okay. If you're not seeing anything in your student's Canvas account once they're logged in, then I would email support@stemk12.org. So that way they can take a look and see why you're not, your student is not, their student's Canvas account is not reflecting their courses. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see anything else, so I'll go ahead and give you back some time in your day. I will post the video recording to this to the Back to School Hub, as well as a PDF of this presentation. Don't hesitate to reach out to info@stemk12.org if you can't find any of the information that you're looking for in the Back to School Hub or in the most recent parent newsletters that went out. Okay. Thank you guys so much. I hope you guys all have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.